Good evening. It is Sunday, May the 8th, about 9:30 p.m. My name is Shay Gibson with iKitesurf and Weather Flow, and this is going to be the Chucktown wind report for Monday, May the 9th and Tuesday, May the 10th. We'll talk a little bit about Wednesday, but first, let's go ahead and take a look at the surface map right here in front of us and see what occurred today. We had high pressure out in the Atlantic that provided a southerly flow along the coastline. We had a southwest flow develop off of a westerly land breeze early on that switched over around midday to 1 o'clock p.m. when those southwesterlies worked their way in along the coastline as the sea breeze front moved in. That was also assisted by this northeast Gulf of Mexico high pressure, which this typically will form during the hotter days due to heat fluxing, and that provides a westerly upper flow aloft. There's also evidence that the jet stream is lifting up over the area. So if we take a look at the jet stream for right now, here's the subtropical jet coming up from the Pacific across the country and actually expanding out across the southeast region. There's a little bit of a dip down here, so we have some an undulating boundary caught in between these two jets. And most of that moisture is going to stay up and along that area and wrapping around the high pressure that's out off of our coastline now out in the Atlantic. So that should be the case for today and tomorrow. As we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, that moisture profile may increase as that moisture that is out west right now pushes towards the southeast and possibly moves into that high pressure that is going to be weakening. The bottom line for that, I don't want to get too much into it, but when we talk about what the winds are going to be doing for the next 2 days, we can say that this high pressure will remain in place for tomorrow. We could see something not quite as strong as today, but maybe a little bit similar. So we're looking at low teens, 10 to 14 knots for Monday, with some potential for mid-teens, 15, 16 knots. I don't see it really gaining much more potential unless your upper flow does allow for some stronger sea breezing. So we talk about our upper flow and return flow. We have the southwest flow, we have this northeast Gulf of Mexico high, we have mid-level return flow going aloft, and that air cools and sinks out over the ocean, swings back in, and completes the sea breeze circulation. So if we have stronger flow aloft, that may be able to help the sea breeze build a couple of knots, but I'll stick to 10 to 14 knots with 15 to 16 knot potentials for tomorrow. As we get into Tuesday, we see these values possibly come down as this high pressure all slides to the west towards the coastline. So if we have high pressure parked out here on Tuesday, it's going to be weaker within proximity of the center of high pressure. So we could be only looking at 9 to 13 knots on Tuesday with potential for maybe 14 or 15 knot surge during peak heating. Some of this moisture out west is going to be pushing along this undulating front out here as that polar jet dips down, and then we have that subtropical ridge, and then we could start to see some widespread thunderstorms and isolated showers moving across into our area. If it contaminates the coastline on the sea breeze, it's going to be all over as far as builds go. We'll keep the south-southwest flow going, but if this area gets overrun by storms and rains, that means it's not going to really happen for Tuesday. So we'll have to kind of take a day-to-day here on that. Let's take a quick look at our weather balloon reading for tonight. And this kind of gives some idea of what the return flow is. We usually look for a return flow for sea breeze circulation in this zone right here, somewhere between about 2 and even up to 8 knots. That's mid-level. 500 millibars is 18,000 feet. So there today we had about a 25 to 30 knot flow, and then a little bit higher aloft we had 40 knots. So that usually does pretty good for carrying that wind out over the ocean, and it circulates back into the coastline with the sea breeze circulation. So we had some healthy mid-level return flow for today as far as that goes. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the model predictions for the high pressure. You can kind of see what's going on. This is the North American model, 4 kilometer. This is a high resolution model, and this kind of watch the high pressure out in the Atlantic, the Bermuda high, and you can see how it sort of wobbles around and develops a couple of different lobes, but overall it holds pretty strong. And then as we get into Tuesday, it becomes a little bit more robust. Into Monday, tomorrow, it becomes a little bit more robust, and as we get into Tuesday, we see that high pressure start to flatten a little bit, and we get what's called a ridge axis that extends out into the coastline. And if that lifts up into our area, that'll make the winds very weak, and then rains and showers will overrun the coastline. And it looks like this model is actually starting to sort of see that occur as it provides the solution for that day. It's not for certain, but we'll just, like I said earlier, we'll have to keep watching this day to day to see if it's going to be consistent with anything. So as we move into later Tuesday, we see that high pressure weaken, and then some of those showers wrapping around it just off and along the coastline. And let's look at Datascope real quick for the Charleston area. Right now we're probably going to be seeing some nocturnal jetting occur. And here's Isle of Palms at 13 knots. We have 15 knots in the harbor, so it looks like we are seeing a little bit of a nocturnal jet tonight. May see some numbers come up. May see some upper teens to low 20s overnight with that boundary being so close to the north. Sometimes we get this inversionary type of wind that allows those winds to come up for a few extra knots. But here's a graph for today. We got into the upper teens, highest speed today at the Isle of Palms Pier was 21 knots at 4:15. So that was a wind gust at 21 knots, but either way, it's still showing some of the higher speeds. Folly Beach clocked in a little bit less, and their winds built, but then they also came down a little bit earlier, around 4:30 to 5 o'clock p.m. So not so well for the Folly Beach crew down there south of the harbor. Now, if we look at our modeling for guidance, here's Monday, Tuesday. We can see some of this agreement already showing for Monday's build, just staying in the low teens, and even as we get into Tuesday, we only see low teens in the afternoon as well. So the models are sort of picking up on the high pressure being weak out in the Atlantic, but that's not to say that we can't see some building off those there's local circulations in the Charleston area. So we'll go from day to day here. I'll be updating the group a few times here and there with some of the latest daily information, and until then, take care out there, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.